Hey guys, um, I don't even know where to start. Um, I wanted to kind of let everyone know what was going on with me and the things I'm about to embark on. Um, uh, it's kind of hard to talk about. I don't even know where to start. Um, okay, well, I guess let's just start at the beginning. Back in June of 2017, at the end of June, I noticed a lump in the bottom of my neck here at the base of my neck, right here, which I thought was kind of weird. It kind of felt a little odd swallowing too. It wasn't hard to swallow, but it just felt different. Um, but 2 weeks later, it disappeared. So I was like, okay, well, that was odd. I didn't think anything of it. Months passed by. A few months passed by, beginning probably late September, early October. I experienced the same lump come back in my neck here. Um, and just like before, at the end of June, I was just expecting it to go away. Well, it didn't. It actually got a little bit bigger. Um, and that was early October, I think. I was like, okay, well, let's just see what happens. Hopefully, it'll go away. Um, it didn't. In a month or two went by. It still was there. It still was kind of feeling weird in my throat, um, or in my neck here, affecting my swallowing a little bit. No other symptoms whatsoever. Um, I was like, well, this is kind of getting annoying. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's here, whatever. So I called my primary doctor and made an appointment. he um he took a look at it and he referred me out to an ENT office. And so I made an appointment with the ENT office, which is probably a week later, I believe. This was about mid December, with the primary care, and I got referred to ENT. It might have been a week or two later until I got to see ENT. He suggested and took a look down my throat with like a scope. He actually went in my nose, looked down my throat with a scope. Said everything looked okay. My vocal box was a little red, but nothing too crazy. He did notice that maybe, thyroid, something going on with my thyroid or what. I don't know. He did think it was kind of weird though, because he felt a lump over here as well, um, a little off to my left side. So he actually referred me to, well, he scheduled ultrasound on my neck, and he also wanted to do a biopsy at the same time, but the ultrasound place wouldn't do both at the same time. They wanted to do ultrasound first. So they did an ultrasound first, and then um, here, let's see, how did it go? So they did the ultrasound, and then he wanted to do the biopsy before we could make any conclusions as to what it was. At this point, I had no idea what was going on. He gave the ENT and primary care doctor gave me no indication of what it possibly could be, or well, my primary care physician thought it was really odd that in June of 2017 it came and then 2 weeks later disappeared. He thought maybe he mentioned maybe it could be a cyst of some sort and then disappeared. I don't know, but the ENT doctor gave me really no indication as to what it could be. We did the biopsy, which was kind of a weird process. They had to stick a needle in my neck. One, they took a biopsy of my thyroid. Then two, with the results of the ultrasound, I did have a large lymph node next to my thyroid, right here, right here. Just on my left side. So they took 3 samples from my lymph node with a large needle. They had to numb me up, which kind of felt like a bee sting at first, and then they went in with the needle, which was, it didn't really hurt that bad. It just was kind of a weird feeling. Um, so let's see, that to get the results back, it probably took a few days. I got a call on Monday, January 29th, to be exact, from the ENT doctor, not giving me very good news. And I was, well, he told me that the results of the biopsy, that my um, thyroid was fine, that there was no malignancy there. Doesn't really know why it's enlarged a little bit, but he said that's fine. But the lymph node had Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is cancer. And of course, talking to him on the phone, I was actually driving when he called. I had to pull over. And so I was just in shock. I didn't know what this was, what it meant, other than the fact that it was cancer. And at that point in time, I started to freak out. And this was probably a dumb idea, but after I got off the phone with the ENT doctor, I called my wife on the phone rather than, probably I should have waited till I got home, because my wife is a nurse. She works at a hospital. So she knows all this stuff. Not in grave detail, but she knows a lot about a lot of stuff. So when I called her on the phone, she thought I was joking. Um, um, and I have 3 kids, 3 daughters, almost 7, almost 5, and almost 2. And this was a lot to take in. And my wife freaked out. Immediately started bawling on the phone. So I turned around. I stopped what I was doing. I immediately went home, and my wife's grandma came over, and I opened the door, and they're both just crying. Of course, I am in shock. I have no idea what to think, what to feel. All I know is I have a huge pit in my stomach that I don't know what to do with, because the unknown. I just don't know what is about to happen, what's going to happen. So, of course, any logical human being would start doing some research on what Hodgkin's lymphoma is. And that's what we started doing. We started researching online, watched some YouTube videos on American Cancer Society website to do a little research on the disease. So Hodgkin's lymphoma is obviously cancer of the lymph nodes. And so I'll go back to the story after I got off the phone with ENT. ENT doctor said he was going to refer me to an oncologist here in my town, and I should hear something within the next day or two. I called them the next day. Later that day, I think it was January 30th, I got an appointment scheduled with them, which was a week out, exactly 7 days out from the day that I talked to them, which was the day after I got the news. So that has probably been the longest week. And today is February 10th. So I think my original appointment was, what's today? Saturday. It was on Tuesday. So what, 4 days ago? Anyway, so we researched what Hodgkin's lymphoma is. Of course, without talking to a specialist about all this type of stuff, we're only reading what we read online and making speculations based on what other people have experienced. and whatnot. So it turns out that and I still don't know everything. Whoops, I still don't know everything about it, but there's two types. There's a Hodgkin's lymphoma A and B. They stage it based on, well, they do their tests and they make a stage. There's stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can either have A or B versions of Hodgkin's lymphoma. Version B of Hodgkin's lymphoma has what's the word? They have things like, well, let me tell you specifically. Version B of Hodgkin's lymphoma, you have fevers, you have night sweats, you have a drastic, unexplained decrease in your weight. What was there? Is there another one? I believe, I can't remember. But those were the three main characteristics of Hodgkin's lymphoma version B. I have none of those. I have not experienced any of that. The only thing I've experienced is just the actual lump in my neck. So, and come to find out, stage B is a little bit harder to treat, I guess, from what I've heard. So I went to the oncologist on, like I said, Tuesday. Oh, actually, there's another side effect I've had. My arm, my left arm is actually swollen, a little bit swollen, feels tight, and is discolored as well. And I didn't think anything of it because it doesn't hurt. So I don't know. I just thought it was maybe the lymph nodes causing pressure in here, maybe causing poor circulation in my left arm. I don't know. That's what I was assuming, and that's why I wanted to ask the oncologist on Tuesday when I spoke to him. He looked at it and immediately thought I had a blood clot. So I went to right down across the street from where the appointment was held. He sent me over for ultrasound, and turns out that I do have a blood clot. It's actually my jugular up here, which he said is low risk to go to my lungs. So now I'm on a blood thinner. And he said blood clots are kind of common with the cancer. And I never had a blood clot in my life, so I would assume so. So I assume he's kind of, he's correct on that. So since the diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma, I've gone through multiple tests now. Still not all the way through all of them. He wanted me to get a bone marrow biopsy, which I did, 3 days ago, in my hip, the back of my hip, which wasn't too bad. They put me under, not anesthesia, but sedation, and stuck a needle in my hip, and I woke up, and I felt pretty good. Next day, I was a little achy, but I'm completely fine now. I had a CT scan 2 days ago. That was in preparation for the port. I had a port catheter put in right under my collarbone right here. I'm not going to lift my shirt up or anything, but I don't know if you can see it. There's a little lump right here. I just had that put in yesterday in preparations for chemotherapy. So this was done yesterday morning, so it's a little tender right now. And what it does is it allows easy access to your vein. It goes into, I can't remember what vein it is. One of the bigger veins, one of the more, substantial veins, because that is the best way to administer chemotherapy, because you do not want to administer chemotherapy. Ideally, you don't want to through your veins in your arm or your hands or whatever, because the chemotherapy drug will shrivel up your vein and just destroy your arm. So we had and this was his recommendation as well, is get the port put in. And so that I went under sedation again yesterday. It was out for it, and they put it in. And so they had it's right under the skin. So what they can do is they stick a needle just through my skin, and it goes right into the port. and then they can administer the chemotherapy that way. So I still have a few more tests to do. I have the PET scan. Um, well, let me go back. The CT scan that I had 2 days ago, that was in preparation for this port. She wanted the CT scan done, um, which was super easy to do. The CT scan was simple. It took like seriously like 5 minutes to do, and then I was out. But anyway, the CT scan showed, I think they put iodine in, and it showed my upper body, like, where my veins are and everything like that. And actually, the doctor yesterday that put in the port did mention that, yeah, she saw lymph nodes inflamed in here, and it actually goes down, I think, right in here. But she said she didn't see any else, which is good, which is encouraging that she didn't see any others, like in my armpits or nothing like that, because it's common with this that you'll see a lump in your neck or and a lump in your armpits, or you could have in your growing area as well. You could have enlarged lymph nodes there too. For me, it was just my neck. I haven't experienced or found any others other than the base of my neck too. So over here, the base of my neck, and that's it. So all she could see on the CT scan was this, the base of my neck, and I think she said a little bit in my chest, right about here up. So if that's the case, that's good, that it hasn't spread further. And speaking with oncologist, he believes with the first lump at the end of June, that's when this whole process started. And obviously it started here because this is where I experienced the first lump. Anyway, so it's been 6-7 months that this has probably been progressing. So for it to be in this area only, I'd be happy with that. This disease and this cancer is 100% curable. Thank God. So it's just a matter of getting all this done, all the tests, going through chemo, which he states is probably going to be about 6 months worth of chemo, and it's administered every other week. So once we start chemo, it's going to be treatments every other week for 6 months. My hair is going to fall out, he says, and all that type of stuff that comes along with chemo. He said the number one side effect of chemo is feeling tired. Another one is obviously feeling nauseated. There's anti-nausea medicine, of course, that they can help with that. But I think one of the biggest questions I have right now is how the best way to keep my energy up. And I have a feeling that's going to be through diet. I have chemo class this coming Monday, along with the PET scan. I haven't talked about yet, but I have a chemo class this coming Monday, which they should answer a bunch of questions about the chemo process and probably a little bit about diet as well, because I've read that there's certain things that you should stay away from, such as which is weird, raw fruit, raw vegetables during chemo. To stay away from that, which I thought was really odd, but I don't know the chemistry behind it all. But so that's one thing we need to figure out is diet through all this. So that's this coming Monday. After that, on the same day on Monday, I have the PET scan. Now the PET scan, they inject some sort of radioactive substance in me because they're going to do a full body scan. Know for sure where exactly this cancer has spread, to its extent. The CT, yes, it's good, but it doesn't do the full body, and I don't know exactly, but I'm sure there's other things that the PET scan will be able to reveal rather than the CT scan. So that process, I believe they asked me if I was claustrophobic, so I'm assuming I'm gonna be laying inside this tube thing, kind of like an MRI machine. So I'm gonna be laying in that, and I think it's probably about a 20-minute process, just laying still, having them scan me and whatnot. So that is on Monday. I got to do that. And then I got to do I think it's pulmonary function test for my lungs. The drugs that they administer with the chemo can affect lung function and can affect heart function. So they need to test my lung function as it is right now. I do have asthma. I haven't actually, since it's kind of the winter time frame right now. Usually for me personally, the dead of winter, I don't need my inhalers very often because for me, I have seasonal allergies, and seasonal allergies usually trigger my asthma. So like spring, summer, fall time frame, I'm usually taking my inhalers consistently once daily. But in the wintertime, when everything's calmed down, and, there's not a bunch of allergens in the air, I don't usually have to take my inhalers. But now that we're starting this process, my oncologist wants me to start taking it regularly again to make sure I have full function of my lungs through this process. So I have to have my lung function test, and I have an echocardiogram, which is going to test the function of my heart as well, and that's this coming week as well. So I'm going to do that. Those are the last tests that I need to do before we actually start the chemo. And that is my biggest question mark, is how that's going to go. Of course, I put it out there on Facebook recently about what I'm going through. And I've gotten a lot of responses to the effect that they've known someone with this same exact cancer and they've got over it 100%. And actually, everyone that's mentioned that they knew someone with it got over it 100% and got cured. So I am hopeful and positive, and that's probably the biggest thing through this whole thing. It takes a mental toll. I've gotten super emotional. I've cried quite a few times. The uncertainty is what is killing me inside. So, but staying positive is huge. Knowing that this is curable, that's huge. And I have 3 kids, a wife. I have a big family. There's no other way than to get cured. I mean, in my mind, there's no other option. So, just got to stay strong. I go on walks now. I mean, I'm not like I'm not a lazy person per se. I'm pretty active anyway, but now I make it a point to go for walks to make sure my lungs are functioning as best they can. So, it is what it is. It's pretty stressful right now. But this is where I'm at right now, as far as the status of Hodgkin's lymphoma. Sounds like, to me, I mean, based on what the doctor said and the results of my CT scan, the staging I would assume would be stage 2, because how they stage this cancer is based on the amount of lymph nodes affected. Lymph node clusters, I should say. So this would be one where it all started. This would be one area, one lymph node cluster. I don't know if they include the base of the neck with that lymph node cluster or not. Say that this is a lump here, and I have a lump here. I don't know. It's hard to see because on this side of my shoulder and arm, like I told you with the blood clot, it is a little swollen in here, so it's hard to see the lump. You won't be able to see it per se. But so this lymph node, these lymph nodes down here, and there, like she said, there might be some under my chest too. So I would think that this area down here would be a different cluster of lymph nodes. So if that's the case, it's probably stage 2, version A, because I don't have any of this the version B symptoms. So if that's the case, it should melt away pretty quickly as soon as chemo starts. But of course, you want it all gone. So you don't want to mess around with this stuff coming back or not getting all of it. He said there is a possibility of, radiation kind of to kill the remaining cancer cells, but we'll see. He doesn't know for sure. He doesn't really like to use radiation because he said there's more side effects to radiation. But he's not sure yet. We'll know more once the PET scan results come back. So with that, I just wanted to keep everyone updated and kind of document my travels through this as I remember it, as it's fresh in my mind right now. And so I'm fine. I feel fine. I feel completely normal other than the lumps and, just the added stress with knowing what's going on. But physically, I feel fine. Yeah, so it's just weird. It's just weird. It was a complete shock getting the results that I have cancer, knowing that I'm completely healthy, or I feel completely healthy and whatnot. So I just wanted to kind of document this on my travels. I'll be probably doing this as I go through the chemo treatments as status updates and whatnot. That way I have it all documented if family wanted to watch this or, refer back to it later in the future or whatnot. I thought we kind of something, as it's a huge hurdle. I mean, cancer in general is a huge hurdle in my life, that documenting it and looking back on it in the future, and also for family to look at and watch as well, I thought would be kind of cool. So I know in researching YouTube, actually, there's quite a few people out there that have documented this and have documented their travels and their progression and how they feel and all that. So that was really encouraging for me a few days back, earlier this last week, when I was trying to, get some more information about the disease. So that was cool. And if any of you out there have comments or questions in regards to this process, I would be more than happy to answer them as I, if I know them. I'm sure I'll be knowing a lot more as we move forward. As I'm more than halfway through the testing period before getting chemo started. So I hope this helps others out there as well. Go through, people that may end up getting this disease that, want to turn to YouTube, and others that may have had the same thing. So, another characteristic of this disease, Hodgkin's lymphoma, it's common in young people. It's common, from what I've read online, ages 20 to 35. This is common. I believe it's 20 to 35, and then there's another gap for age 50 and above that it's common for people in those age groups to have. So, and researching other videos of people that have had this, it seems to be all younger people. Like, I've seen some girls in college, seen another guy in Europe that's about my age. He has a wife and kid as well. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I hope this helps some people, come to grips with what they have, and that it's 100% curable. And I hope it helps, and I want to reflect back on it in the future, and maybe some family members of mine as well. So if this has helped you, if you have any questions, comments, whatever, go for it. Go ahead and comment. I'll be more than happy to respond to any questions that people may have. So anyway, I know this isn't the best of topics to discuss, although I believe in the end it's going to help me others, and I don't know. I think it's just it helps to talk about it sometimes. So, with that said, like I said, next week I have the chemo class, the PET scan, and then um, the echo test for my heart and my lung function test next week. So those will be pretty easy tests to do. I mean, the more invasive ones were the bone marrow biopsy and obviously the port install here on my chest. Those were invasive. Um, but anyway, um, I think that's all I have to say for this video for right now. But stay positive. That's key. Um, appreciate your family, and you'll be just fine. We'll take care of it. Guys, thanks. And if you have any comments, questions, let me know. Have a good day. Bye, guys.